Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and brothers and sisters, and to all of you who have joined us, not only in New York, but certainly around the country. We are thankful to God for allowing us to do this forum, or certainly this program called Insight, which is designed with that very word, that we bring in guests who are insightful, who are thinkers, and who are people that would give information that would help them in the various ways of life. So I'm thankful to God for that. And I'm thankful, I want to say to, first of all, to the Shiloh Church for joining your pastor on this night. Thank you so much. And thank you, Pastor Washington. Pastor Washington, I want to thank Lady Shauna Washington, whose parents I adore. Her mother and father, Miss Ruby Ford, who I've always adored, her music as it pertains to spirituals. She was always very, very, very encouraging to me, as well as her husband. So I thank God for them. And I'm thankful to God for Marissa, Marlon, and Marshall for being on with your dad and certainly having him to be a part of us. Pastor Washington, thank you so much for being with us tonight. You got to unmute, brother.
Mute. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's what happens when you don't wear glasses often. You start muting me real close.
Yeah,
like this.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, but you can hear me now.
I can hear.
Oh man,
Pastor Washington, I'm only going to engage in 10 things tonight, as it relates to what we're talking about. But we certainly want to get into your book. And first of all, I want to thank you and how proud I am of you. When I first met Pastor Herman Washington, it was in the back of a church that I don't remember. The Eastern Baptist Association was held at some church that I don't remember. I don't know whether it was Long Island or Queens, but I introduced myself to him without ever knowing him, and we shook hands, and that's how I was our introduction into knowing one another. And then, of course, having to come to the Bethlehem Church for many years, and of course, recently, just last year. So I'm thankful to Pastor Washington and how I had a chance to know. Been at the Shiloh Church now 30 years, but of course, pastored in Philadelphia. And the total of years, Pastor Washington, is how many years in the pastoring ministry?
Altogether, it's 37 years, 11 months. And it was in Penns Grove, New Jersey, not Philadelphia.
Sir. Okay, all right.
No, you were close. You were close.
That was close.
It was close. Yeah.
It was close. It's close.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this, and Pastor, this when we talk about these topics, I don't know if you realize, you don't realize, but they're very helpful to people, because even though, and as I said to you, I don't really particularly care doing the Brady Bunch format, only because of the fact you don't really get the essence of the person that we are talking to. And I think this allows, now they don't get to know the whole you either, but at least they got 60 minutes to figure it out. So I want to ask you, what was your early development in life and ministry?
Well, the short version is that my biological mother gave me away. And I ended up in the family of a woman who had a sister, and her sister was married to a preacher. The woman who took me in and adopted me died, but prior to her death, she made her sister commit to take care of me if something happened to her. She died, her sister fulfilled her commitment. I ended up in Philadelphia, in their home. And again, she happened to be married to a preacher. And so my early development was literally in the hands of a man and woman who were not my mother and father, but mothered me and fathered me and shaped me into the person that I have eventually become. I owe them everything. Thelma and Julius Mosley. they're now both in glory, and they only did one thing, and that is they raised one son. And I am so grateful to the Lord for them. And of course, beyond that, Charles Walker put his hands on me, James Hall put his hands on me, and for both in Philadelphia, and then Bishop Clifford Johnson put his hands on me. And so I have been fortunate to have been shaped by men and women who were champions of the faith.
So shaped and, as people would say, poured into as well, as they would say. But I love the way that, but I have to tell you that just that segment of what you talked about really was, and I mean this very much in a very moving and positive way, how much it shook me. So I want to thank you for that. Pastor Washington, you're a very, he's one of our, and for me, I say he's one of our very prolific preachers. I don't have to say that to Pastor Washington to be congenial to him. He is a prolific preacher. Bethlehem loves him. Bethlehem knows him. He is really one who actually really takes apart the text. And when I say take apart, I don't mean it to separate from anywhere. I mean it in terms of, as Curtis Whitney told me, my pastor Curtis Whitney told me some years ago when I was having some challenges at Bethlehem. He says sometimes you have to open up the church like you're opening up a body and see what's in there. And so with Herman Washington, he has done that for over the course of the years, and I'm thankful that I've gotten a chance to know him. 30 years in New York now. So it is actually 30 years that I have known Reverend Herman Washington.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you this. Because of the fact that you're such a concise preacher, mildly intense, and I say that complimentary. I said these things to other preachers that some people don't know anything about you, but what are some of the relaxing moments you spend during this time of uncertainty to study and meditate?
Okay. Now, first of all, you do know that every time you and I are together, I got to go find a dictionary. Prolific. I got to check that out, find out what exactly you're saying to me, because, I don't know what you be talking about. I got to find out what that's all about. But anyway.
Yeah, I need a dictionary when you get on the pulpit. So
yeah, right. Right. Man, you know what my issue is? Larry, years ago, a buddy of mine said to me, he said, if somebody wanted to kill you, it'd be just as easy as because you don't do nothing but church and home. And that's literally, that's my life. I'm not, I'm not a, what you call a social butterfly. I don't do, I don't kind of float around and stuff. I get out when I need to get out, do what I got to do. But I'm a homebody, man.
Yeah.
I've always been, my entire life, I've been that way. And so for me, if you're going to talk about like downtimes, if there is a significant downtime that I have, it is when I'm with my wife or with my family. And then the other issue that is a little bit out of the box, so to speak, for me,
sure,
is I like to drive.
Yeah.
That's man, you give me a set of wheels, a full tank of gas, and an open road, bro, you may not see me for a while. Because I love to get behind the wheel and go. I love doing it, man. So of course, and you know this, man. We bought a van and went all over the place, and I think we ran into you guys a couple of times on vacation.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So I'm simple, man. If I can go home and sit down in my house and just relax with my wife, or just spend some time with the kids, I'm good to go. I really don't have much outside of that. I'm good.
Well, I want to say Shauna Washington has the most gracious spirit and a smile, just like her lovely mother. Now, Dad, I'm not taking anything from you. I'm sure she got your personality as well, but she has the smile just so much like her mother. Now, everyone, people begin to discuss about what's 2021 going to be about. They make predictions. They think that they'll pray in what I refer to as superficial prayers, that I know that 2021 is going to be a better year. We don't know what a better year is defined.
Right.
So how do you put 2021 in perspective?
All right. You want my honest answer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Brother to brother. Preacher to preacher.
Yes, sir.
Here's my conviction concerning this coming year. 2020 was traumatic, and we lost a lot of lives, and that was horrible, and it was bad. But in my own humble opinion, as bad as that was, there's one thing that's worse. And that is, if we come out of this having learned nothing.
Yeah.
Larry, I am right now thinking that I don't believe, as far as church goes, we're ever going to be what we were prior to 2020. I don't believe that we're ever going to go back to that.
Yeah.
And the reality is, I'm not sure that I want to go back to that.
Mm.
I don't think we will ever know church the way we have known church. I don't think we're going to be able to do church the way we've been doing church. And I think that the challenge for me is heading into 2021, I really don't want to set my my heart and mind on trying to recapture what's gone, because it's gone, man. So as I'm dealing with what's coming in this new year, what I'm really thinking about is, how can I lead these people into being the church, not coming to church, but being the church. Because over the last 9 months, that's exactly what we've had to do. We have literally had to be the church. And I find that that's better. It was better for us than actually coming to church. I find people got along better.
Yeah.
Because they weren't in each other's face every week. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
You said you did tell me to tell the truth. So,
you know, I only laughed because a couple people didn't get along with me. So you go right ahead. That's why I was laughing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a reality, and the truth is that as I check in with my friends across the country, a number of them are saying the same thing. I'm sure you get around, you hear the same thing, man. I mean, do we really want to go back to that? Again, I don't know, but what I'm saying is that I think that we need to reassess and reevaluate. If nothing else about 2020, it should cause us to rethink how we do church and prepare ourselves for whatever the answer to that is.
You know, Pastor Washington, you said something to me about, I guess it was 2019, where you made a statement that was kind of like a microcosm of what you just described as it relates to the people of God becoming the church rather than going to the building, so to speak. And you and I were talking in the office, and I said something to the effect of I miss mentors. I miss that, and there's no one around. And I was talking about as it relates to my age, no one around that I can, other than my pastor, Dr. Whitney. But there's not many around of the seniors that you can talk to. And then you said, with this very stoic expression on your face, well, Larry, that's because we are them now. Which I was in quite denial because, I was, but that statement is a microcosm of what you said in relation to the church, and that is true. But with the amounts of the deaths around the world, what are the comforting narratives that moves you?
Okay. I appreciate that question, because that's been a blessing to me for about 7 to 8 months now. And again, it goes back to the other point I was making about being the church. I've watched our people, and again, from a distance, I've watched our people, and man, I am seeing growth and development in them that, quite frankly, I would not have seen in the sanctuary. Because literally what's happening is that they're reaching out, they're interacting with one another, people that we normally would not see kind of connecting and doing what needs to be done. And, some of the things, we did when we were in the building and what have you, but most of these things like this on this level, we have not done. And what has been the most encouraging is watching and seeing them, the evidence of their growth, and that their personal development as they are, again, literally being the church. Because technically that's what the church is. We are the extension of Jesus. We are his hands, his feet, and we are to do what he does as his body. And that's exactly what's happening, man. And that, for real, man, that's blessing my soul.
Wow. My guest tonight, the Reverend Herman Washington, the pastor of the Shiloh Baptist Church in Rockville Center. Just want to I'm going to keep putting this up every once in a while. The truth about submission, we're going to get in that in a couple of moments. But I also wanted to say that there's a Cash App that will come before your screen. And you're not asked for a specific amount, but I would ask if you brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, if you can, to be a blessing to Pastor Washington. And when I say be a blessing, give with your heart and not with necessity. Give with your heart and not with necessity or forced to, but I ask that you would give with your heart. Now, explain exegetical preaching.
Oh, Lord. How much time you got?
Well, it says an hour, but we can go over. So I just say that.
No. Well, exegetical preaching to me is the idea of laying a hold of a text and digging into that text, dealing with the who, what, when, where, why, and understanding as much as possible the language that's present, and knowing the setting that it was used in and how it applied in the lives of the people that heard it originally, and then how that translates into our lives today.
There are different forms of exegetical preaching. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that is pictorial and what else am I missing, Pastor?
You could talk about the whole idea of the imagery and all that's fine, but the two that work that I kind of embrace and enjoy are the actual examination of a text, either it be a verse or it be an extended section of scripture. Either one of those work for me, and I of course, in my own life, I've embraced it because for me, I'm learning. Well, for me, I'm learning while I'm burning, and while I'm preaching it, it's also instructing. I'm getting instruction from it, and learning myself. So that's why I embrace it, because it helps me out personally.
That pretty much sums up what I was going to ask. What are the various disciplines of preaching which ones have influence on you? And in actuality, you actually said that and explained that. And remind me, just allow me to stay there for a moment, Pastor Washington.
Sure.
I've heard many great preachers. You know, yourself. I've heard. You know, of course, Reverend Kelly. I've heard. You know, Gary Simpson. I've heard Youngblood and many others. The discipline of the narrative literally in some ways means to just spend time in it rather than, as the late Dr. William Augustus Jones once said to a group of us, he says that you don't have to do a Saturday night special to look for a sermon. If you study, a sermon will come looking for you.
That's right.
And this is not, and I ask this question of you, not as a criticism to the audience, but this is very important because, I mean, I could ask it, but I don't have many friends. But the thing is that, and I'm good with that too. But yeah, I'm good with that. But the thing is that discipline of preaching, we realize that everyone, I don't think it's like everyone can't do it. It's a matter of the approach to it.
Right.
So how's the pulpits for the present and going forth? Do we hope and pray that they will continue to stick to it, or just use it as a storytelling line without any form of essence and power that comes with it?
No, Pastor, I'm not sure that any of us who take ministry seriously, and particularly pulpit ministry seriously, as I know you do, if you take this stuff seriously, you're not going to go into this, whatever this year, whatever is coming. You're not going to go in there casual. You can't. First of all, imagine this. We have had 9 months of people, some of them who we've known, dying. And I'm talking, in our association alone, I think it was over 200.
Yeah.
We lost over 200 people in our association alone.
Yes.
And Pastor, most of those people, we couldn't have funerals for.
Yeah.
We did not have means, that there has been no effectual closure for those families, for the most part. Someone died this year, a large family, and only a few of them could go to the funeral home, and 50 plus of them were sitting around, at home trying to watch through the video and that kind of thing. Well, we're now coming into this new year, and all of that emotional baggage is coming with it. People are looking for answers, and they got questions, and at some point, pastors have got to stand up and take the position that even though I don't understand everything that's going down and everything that went down, nor I may not be able to understand all of the emotional stuff that you're dealing with, there is an answer in the Word of God. Now, for you to get it, I got to work. I got to do the work to get to it, but there is an answer here in God's Word. And so I don't think that any of us are going to be able to do any casual, lighthearted, and I don't mean no harm to nobody, but the day of the Saturday night special, in my humble opinion, is over.
Yes, sir.
Because the people they're literally hurting now, and we know it. So now you got this emotional dynamic, you got the psychological stuff that's going on, all these things are going on, all these questions. Somewhere along the line, you got to have answers from the Word of God. And so I implore my brothers and sisters, whoever has that mantle responsibility, commit yourself to do the work so that God will give you what he needs to give you so that you can speak to the hearts of those hurting people.
Pastor, this book expound about the truth about submission. Just expound on it. And what were the challenges to write it? Now, I read a couple things there as it relates to the women forming it. And I read about the whole wedding thing, and I read about that. And you, of course, you'll be able to elaborate more on that. But just speak about the challenges of this book. That really was, I guess, 5 years in the making.
Yeah, it was a little more than that. It was actually a little longer than that. But at any rate, again, thank you so much, man, for your support and your sharing and talking about the book. I'm humbled by that and honored by that. But let me give you the short version. The issue is that submission has been beaten up, kicked around, thrown around, and like everything else in church, it's looking around trying to figure out, is that me? Because technically speaking, it's never what the Lord said. He didn't say half the stuff that we're saying out of our mouths. He didn't say anything about it. So at any rate, so for me, it was as a result of that episode that took place in my office, and having to deal with the couple and kind of explain what was going on. It dawned on me that, they can't be the only ones. And so as a result of that, we kind of took some action to do what we need to do. And as I'm writing it and studying and doing what I need to do, I'm getting other information and other, stuff is showing up on my desk and other things are coming along. And I'm like, this thing is bigger than I thought it was. The whole time I'm, kind of dealing with it narrowly, in my own little world, and come to find out it's spread out all over the place, that there's this battle going on, even in the context of, the husband and wife already married in their households. The wife is resisting the whole idea of submission. No, that kind of thing. And then they get that kind of stuff going on. And so, what I mean, but the truth of the matter is that it's like nobody is saying, here's what it really is. This is what is really going down with that. And so that's why I tried to do what I can to make a contribution to try and explain that.
Okay, brothers and sisters, again, the truth about submission. And I must tell you, I'm not because he's sitting here, but, I had a chance to read through the book and to be able, I got to ask you one question, Pastor Washington, just one. Okay. Just one. I think I know your answer, but I got one question to ask. Of course, in the back, it talked about your reference points is King James Version. So I imagine that every scripture that you quoted was King James Version.
Every verse that was in the book is from the King James Version, but not my study stuff. In other words,
okay.
I study, when I study, I use more than King James.
Okay, because when you said that, I'm glad you did, because I was going to go in on something else.
I know.
So you kind of put a roadblock in on that one, because I was going to say, well, why only King James? Don't get me wrong. That is, I have King James in all of those Bibles that are there, because you actually know when you preach and you're trying to lift up the point, you'll say that, well, no, the King James Version might say this, but the NIV might say this, but you got to go back to the King James Version to get some clarity of this. But then you have to go back to the NLT or something to that.
Right.
So I'm glad you were enlightening on that one, Brother Pastor.
Yes, sir.
Now, how's the Shiloh congregation? Because I've seen you teaching on Sunday, which I really enjoy, and how you sit before the people in your teaching. And I want to let everybody know, Pastor Washington has jeans on and shirt. And got on my African attire a couple of years ago, and in jeans and shirt. But I love it. And I want to ask you, how have you and the Shiloh congregation been adjusting together? What's this going on?
Well, I would assume, Pastor, that we're doing pretty much the same thing that everybody else is doing. Nothing unique on our end, just trying to maintain as much as possible some kind of equilibrium, whatever that looks like or would be now. My officers and I meet, we meet regularly, at least once a month, and just to kind of talk about how we're moving forward and what we're going to be doing. They've been very, very supportive and very helpful in nailing down, our return time. We have no plans on coming back into the building anytime soon. We're still going to wait on that. I, like you, have a lot of seniors in our church, and the truth of the matter is that I myself am moving into senior stage.
That's true. Yes.
Well,
I would say, Pastor, you're older, but not old.
Yeah, thank you. You know what, bro? See, no. And see, the truth of the matter is, it would take an old guy to come up with that. So you understand. Us old guys understand. Oh, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, man.
When I preach for Reverend Kelly, when I preached for Reverend Kelly before his COVID, he would often say that Larry Kemp is older than I am. I just want to let everyone know that Larry Kemp is older than I am. And I just remind the Christ Fellowship Church that when Reverend Kelly was born, I was only 3. So I keep that like with this. So,
yes, sir.
What people, and I know you mentioned them, but your pastor, certainly your sister or the sister, and the man and the woman that certainly brought you in as to be their son. What other people have in some way influenced your life via quote, via life, be a disposition and character? And the reason why I bring all of that is that we think we're influenced by just one thing, but as human beings, if we pay attention, we can be influenced by so many. Yeah. And the reason why I brought that up, Pastor Washington, and you would be able to come right in when I finish, is that when I did 2 weeks ago, I did a funeral for one of our seniors who's 94. Not her funeral, but her 68-year-old son. And at the time that she was when I first heard her and I called her, she cried and she wept all over the phone. At the funeral, she sits in the middle of the sanctuary. She's not sitting up front with the rest of the family. Mm-hmm. The other people come, and of course they view. She waits until everyone is finished. She stands up. She walks slowly to the casket, with no weeping and no crying. And she said these words that I think I will always remember. She tapped the casket, the edge of the casket, and said, "You're all right now. You're all right now." And then she proceeded to tell me that the son, who was 68, had brain surgery at 12. Which is almost like a demonstration. I've seen you through all of this.
Right.
You're no longer in my hands.
Right.
So you're all right now.
Right.
How do you speak to something like that, Pastor Washington?
Wow. Well, I will tell you this. You managed and handled that much better than I would have. I'd have been all over the pulpit falling out crying.
Yeah.
That's why I would have handled that. You would have had to come get me. Shoot. No, man, that was too much, man. That's wow. That's amazing. You know, that legacy and that storyline. That's amazing, man. How many? Let me ask you this. Let's flip it a little bit. How many people have you lost to COVID at Bethel?
That I know. We lost we really lost a great deal of them between the months between January and I think late March, early April.
Okay.
And it's probably been Pastor Washington, and I could be wrong on the numbers unless somebody texts me up, but I think it's been a total of about 18 to 20.
Oh.
18 to 20.
Wow.
And, the frustrating thing is not being able to do it in the sanctuary.
Right.
Or to give them a proper burial, so to speak.
Right.
But yeah, it's been that kind of thing.
Right.
Now, there's some other things I could say, but it's not for camera's sake. But, it's now, Pastor, I know you read, but I need to ask you.
Yeah.
What books would you advise as it relates to books that influence you?
Okay. I lost you, Larry. I mean, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you, but let me hold there I go. There I go.
All right. Okay. So, right now, what I am doing is I got some people reading this book called, this old book, been out forever, called The Release of the Spirit. It's by a fellow named Watchman Nee. And bruh, that book right now has been the staple that has gotten my full attention. It's literally on brokenness.
Mm.
And Nee takes a very, very intentional approach to describing what brokenness is and how it is to operate in the life of the believer. I'm using that now. I'm actually thinking that I'm going to do that with the church in 2021 in some form. I'm going to do that with the whole congregation as we still are going through this virtual period.
Yeah.
So anything that you can find by Watchman Nee, in my opinion, is going to be extremely helpful. He's got a book out called The Normal Christian Life. It's not an exposition of it, but it is a breakdown of Romans 6, 7, and 8. Absolutely fantastic. And you know it's Romans 6, 7, and 8 because you know Romans 6, 7, and 8, but not because he like is beating you over the head with Romans 6, 7, and 8. But the application of it is absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, so his works right now are what I'm excited about.
Now, let me ask you this, Pastor Washington. Books that you read that are biblically related. I got to ask you, what other books are there? And the reason why I asked you that question, I know, I have read a book about Dietrich Bonhoeffer, but I was more influenced by Dietrich Bonhoeffer's mother than him, because the mother was married. Dietrich Bonhoeffer's father was an atheist. And she told her son, Dietrich, she told her son that if you're going to be a Christian, don't be pretentious about it. And I thought that was very, very powerful as related to it, because of course that sometimes getting not caught up, but being in church in the way that we are in church, sometimes when you talked about hurting and being broken, and there's nothing wrong with being broken. I think it really enhances our testimony. I think it enhances our preaching. I think it enhances our ministry. But sometimes in church, among us, we want to act like none of this stuff is going on. For instance, that scripture, Ecclesiastes 7:14, that said that in good times be glad, in bad times consider that
Right.
God made one with the other.
Right.
But we don't think God has anything to do with what is bad, and what is bad is not necessarily going to remain bad for you.
Right.
What's the growing? But then there's the pretense sometimes that come with us. And I know we have to always feel we have to act strong, but then there's the pretense with us that feels that we have to have on this face that I'm absolutely the super righteous person, that I'm actually super sanctified,
Right.
that I'm actually, I don't do this, I don't do that, and we don't know.
Right.
Please give us your words, information that will help us to navigate through our faith without it having to be something that is pretentious.
If we say we have no sin, we deceive ourselves and the truth is not in us. That's the gospel.
Yeah, that's the gospel, and they've read that.
Yeah, but see, here's the deal. That's truer than their facade.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
See, look, everybody can talk about the stuff, but the reality is every one of us got a thing, got an issue that we're struggling with. Some of it is public, some of it's private, but either way, it's there. And the reality is that we cannot, particularly now, COVID has stripped down some stuff, brother. I mean, it has pulled back some stuff. A buddy of mine died earlier this year, and he's a part of a church organization. I'm not going to mention it. And they went on to their conference after being told it was coming and there was going to be some problems. And they all jumped up and said, "We got faith and we're going to believe God." So they all went to the conference back in, I want to say, late February. They went to the conference, right? Larry, as I'm sitting here with you, from the end of February to mid-April, 17 of their leaders died, and all of them were at their conference. And my buddy was one of them. 17 of their leaders died, all because they went to their conference. And they went because they had faith. They believed. And they believed unto death. Unnecessarily so. Because people said to them, "Don't do that. That's not going to be a good thing." They went on, had their conference, rubbing up with each other, hugging each other, coughing all on each other, preaching and all that kind of stupid stuff. And between as I'm sitting before you today, 17 of them between end of February and mid-April, gone. I'm not impressed with the hypocrisy anymore. It don't do me no good. Quite frankly, I am closer now to a brother who's struggling with a beer can in his hand than I am with the dude running around with a Bible, talking about how holy and how righteous they are. I identify with the beer can fellow. Because this thing has stripped us, dude. It stripped us down. We're trying to keep up the facade, but this thing keeps pushing the envelope and telling us, you can't do that. You can't do it. You can lie all you want to, but reality is going to hit you in the face. This thing is not playing. So yeah, I'm looking for the beer can guy. That's what I want.
the reason why I asked you if are there any other books, because I read a story about John Coltrane, who's one of the great saxophones. Sister Ford, if she's looking in, she probably knows what I'm talking about, Brother Ford. But one of the great documentarians who wrote documentary jazz, Ken Burns, he described as jazz and the blues being the profane sibling of the spirituals and the hymns. And when he first said that, I said, why? But then John Coltrane, who is the grandson of both grandfathers who were pastors of the AME Church in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And John Coltrane became so influenced by the church. And we all think that you can hear the spirituals, and mm-hmm. But John Coltrane said, I'm going to design my music like the sound of the church. And he took that with him and became one of the most influential. His album was called The Love Supreme, which the entire album is giving thanks to God for his gifts. The entire album.
He got Psalms on there. Don't you have a Psalm on there?
That's there. There's Psalms on there. The entire album.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important to realize that when you said, I want to be with the beer can guy, I want to hear the hymns. I want to hear the spirituals, but I need to hear what Coltrane is saying.
Yep.
And I need to hear what Parker is saying.
Yep.
Charlie Parker's and Miles Davis. So you helped me with that one. And, I can't really, and I want these words to be taken, as best I can. I love being around the saints, but I can't hang about with y'all all day, week long.
You ain't got no problem. That's why I drive. Don't make no mistake when I'm driving. Make no mistake, ain't nobody in the car.
That's right. One of man, I love you, man. One other question, and I want to ask your opinion about this, considering the election that took place, Donald Trump. How do you view that? What was your observation when it came to that?
All right, I'm gonna answer your question, but Larry, I'm sorry, Pastor. Listen, this is the problem of interviewing a friend. Listen. I have some opinions about the election. I'm gonna get there, but I don't know if you were watching. I got more pleasure out of the evangelicals. Did you watch them? Man, I was cracking up. I was losing my mind because some of them were prophesying over the night and make some claims, and they told him that he was going to win. And they were doing all kind of prophetic stuff. They speaking all kind of. One woman was speaking in tongues while striking the earth, trying to get wait a minute. She's called angels from Africa to come and help.
Yeah, Paula White.
Yeah, right. You can't make that stuff up, Larry. She called the angels from Africa and South America to come and help. And incidentally, those are the S-hole countries that Trump.
But but Pastor, I gotta say, were you not educated by some evangelicals though?
Come on, man. All year long. All year long, brother. I'm trying to tell you, my background, I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, this is ridiculous. This is insane. These are the people. These are the ones. And I'm like, okay, thank God for the education and the learning and the understanding and all that stuff. But all this little fringe stuff here, God ain't got nothing to do with any of this, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. So I'm happy Biden won.
Brothers and sisters, as we come to a close, I want to thank, I I just want to put the Cash App for Dr. Herman Washington, and I want us to be, man, has he not been a blessing to us? And I mean that. Now, here's the thing about Pastor Washington. I respect and admire. There is absolutely I've seen no evidence. Now, I don't know what happens when he leaves places where I'm at, but I've seen no evidence of egotistical. I've told all of my ministers who are under me, don't act like you arrived, but keep on arriving. I mean, and Herman Washington has not been the kind of guy that walks in the room as if to say, look at me. Look at me. Herman Washington does not walk. I'm going somewhere. I don't, listen. Herman Washington's not the kind of guy that come up in there and he got nice suits. And, he got them same double-breasted suits on that he had when I met him in 1993. And when I saw him in 1993, so he get on my African tie all he wants. He's got them same double-breasted suits on. And I got to take you and Donald Butler shopping. I got to take, because both of y'all got them same suits. But so I want to thank you, and to all of the people from Shiloh, thank you so much. Let me just say this. Our guest next week will be the Reverend Clinton Miller of the Brown Memorial Baptist Church in Brooklyn. He will be our guest. And then on the 13th, we will have the Reverend Lawrence Aker from the Cornerstone Baptist Church, and they're going to be our guests. And so I want to thank you. Pastor Washington, are there any closing words that you wish to say to this audience?
Yeah, man. When you talked about influences earlier, I need to close by saying to you that if I'm honest about influences in my life, you have been one of them. And let me tell you why. When I came to New York, I was out of balance. I was out of balance. And when I landed in New York and I met you and other brothers here, I saw what I needed, what I was lacking. And I needed that balance. And what you don't know is that because I saw balance, rather I gained balance from you guys and saw how you interacted and acted, you helped me in the area of my family, impacted my dealings with my children. And I want you to know that I am forever grateful for that. And you need to know that. I've never told you that, but I want you to know that now. You have been a great source of influence in the area of balance for my life. And I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Well, Pastor, I can say that I never told you how I was still trying to find my way. I was a new pastor, and there were not congratulations other than Joe Parker, I think David Kelly, but there were not a lot of congratulations. The question was, how do you get there? And so I extended myself to you because I didn't get that extension to me. So thank you for being present. Thank you so much, Pastor.
Bless you, man.
And man, thank you so much for being on this Inside. That wasn't bad though, Brother. It really wasn't.
Oh, no, bro. Thank you, bro. You were kind to me. I appreciate it.
Listen, Bethlehem, again, this book, The Truth About Submission. Now, you can get this on Amazon. You can get this on Amazon. You go to Amazon right now, you'll get it. You can just apply for it. Now we're in the midst of Christmas Eve. Now you might get the thing on a Saturday or a Sunday, but this is the book, and this is a real well-read book, a well-defined book. Of course, you got the King James Version in there, but I've given that. But this is a well-defined book as it relates to developing ministry, growing in ministry, and certainly as it relates to taking the things that he's been through and make it a subject matter. So please, this book for your library, and I got to mention the other books, Tisha Dixon Williams, Sis, I See You, Tamika Ridley arose in a dark place. These are three people who have come, and I want you to know this, that this is a book that you should have in your library. Submission is one of those words that has been put away by our society. In a time where everyone is screaming for their rights, where freedom is the cry of the masses, who wants to talk about submission. This is one of those conversations that we need to have, but we haven't had because in most cases, we really don't know what it means. I want to encourage us to have this uncomfortable, I like what he said there, uncomfortable conversation and see what comes out of it. We might be surprised to find out that what we've been fighting for has already been our possession. Thank you, Reverend Jackson. Thank you, Asia Camp Jackson. Thank you, Niger Camp. Thank you, Linda Atkinson, the producers who've done this. Look to see you all next week. And certainly, as you go into your New Year's Eve, Pastor Washington, all of you who are watching, just go into the service, not with expectation, but just to worship him. Amen. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Y'all have a blessed year.
God bless you. Thanks again,
God
man.
bless you, man.
Bless you, buddy.
Take care.
Right.